Well, hey, it's Terry Coakley, Master Coordinator, and Joanne Nistico, Master Coordinator, and we are Jen Associates. So Happy New Year, everybody. And this is welcoming you to the Winning Wednesday webinar, which comes to you the second Wednesday of every month. And we have a lineup of speakers that will knock your socks off. So we're glad to have you with us. Enjoy the call, and we'll be in touch. Bye.
Hi, everyone. This is Joanne Nistico, and we do have some wonderful lineup coming up, but we have an outstanding person this evening that I'll introduce in a moment. What I want the Jen Associates and our guests, we welcome all of our guests who join us this evening that are not necessarily on the Jen Associates team, but fellow Shaklee fellows. We want to let you know that we'll be sending out an email and communication to all of you concerning an incentive that we will be running for the first 6 months of 2018 that will help you earn your hotel rooms in Nevada for free. How would you like your hotel rooms paid for when you go to the Las Vegas, Nevada trip? And we'll be sending out that information as well as what we will have coming up in order to help you achieve the accomplishment of our incentives, as well as to learn some communication skills, leadership skills, focusing, and strategy on how you can earn the dream and top achiever trips. So we have a lot in store for you for 2018, and we're very excited. And to kick us off for this 2018 first webinar is a very special person. She has a wealth of information. She's on the cutting edge of what's happening in the network marketing industry. She's on the cutting edge of what's happening in Shaklee today and where our future is going to go and go forward in the coming years with Shaklee to create a new and more beautiful day than we've ever had before. So without further ado, I would like to welcome and thank again Presidential Master Coordinator Charlene Fike. Charlene?
Hey, how are you?
Fabulous.
Let me get set up here.
Hey.
Slow here. Hopefully you guys won't hear too many of my sirens. Tell me if you can see that.
We can see it.
We're good to go? Yay! Well, welcome, everybody. It's a wonderful year that we are facing. I'm glad I can be part of the kickoff of this first call that you guys are doing, because there's, like many of us know, there's just a lot of changes that are happening. And there's never been greater opportunities, I believe, to actually talk to our friends about the power of having Shaklee incorporated some way in their life, whether that's our products that actually help them with their health, or more importantly, the income side of our business. So tonight what I want to talk about is the income section, that part of our business, because I really believe that everybody needs a side business in the environment that we're living today. So as you're listening to this and taking notes, be thinking about not only yourself, about how this applies to you, but there's so many people that are vulnerable and are needing another side of income. Really, times have changed. We're not living in our parents' world where you go to work, someone takes care of you, and you retire. We know that. But things have really changed, and I want to just look at 3 things and 3 reasons why it might be important to be starting a side business. And something that if you already have a business and you're doing a Shaklee business, that's great, but we need to be thinking about ways that we can talk to people that are compelling, that might be ways and things for them to consider in having a side business. So the number one thing I want to talk about is that, it's been this way, and it's a trend that's been happening for over a decade or more, but wages just aren't growing, and they really haven't been for a long time. So wages in the United States and in many other countries as well have been effectively really stagnant for many years. So in terms of your buying power, you're lucky if you're breaking even year over year. And raises, if you do get them, tend to be pretty paltry, and many really don't keep up with inflation. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are turning to side streams of income, or as my kids call it, a side hustle, something that you're just doing on the side as another income stream, as another revenue stream that you can do in a manner that maybe you'll be able to replace your income, but if nothing else, you're having another stream that just helps you be able to have better vacations, to maybe have a little bit more breathing room in your financial situation so that you can go out to eat more often, or give more freely to places that you'd like to have to support. So a second reason to think about having a side business is that the cost of living just simply keeps going up. And we know that. So with wages not going up, but the cost of living keeps going up, there has to be something that we do. And then the third thing, it's kind of a little different angle to look at it, but I'm looking at it as a single point of failure is really bad. So let me explain what I mean by that. A single point of failure is just another way to describe the weak link in a chain. So one break and the entire system is broken. Your body understands this because you have 2 kidneys, you have 2 eyes, you have 2 lungs, but employers understand this too, which is why they tend to have multiple people who can handle any given task. And even the military gets this, and they bake redundancy into the skill sets of the elite fighting units. So why is it that most individuals have just one income? A single income simply means that you're trapped and you have fewer options and you're in a weaker position to negotiate. And you're really in bad shape in that mainstream income, if that mainstream income happens to go away, you're really vulnerable. So it's not in your best interest to keep yourself in this position. And the smartest people are the ones that look for and create multiple streams of income. But the problem comes is that a lot of the ways that people can make money aren't sustainable. And so this is when you bring in the conversation to somebody about the sustainability of a Shaklee business and how that really makes such a difference in the system. And then another reason to want to have a side business is because our tax structures are changing, which is kind of when Joanne was asking me the topic of this call, I want to talk about that because recently, you know, at the end of the year, we enacted, Congress and the president signed into law a new tax structure, and there's some changes that are coming. And while on the one hand, as you're looking at that tax law that went into effect, some people who don't deduct are getting a little bit of a payback, but you know, we're talking under $2,000 for a double income home. For I think it's $1,200 for a single. So I mean, you're not really talking all that much money. If you were just building something that you could be earning $500, I mean, that's low. A director in Shaklee who does their business positioning properly and prices their products properly is in our organization, those are the ones that are making anywhere from $1,200 to $1,400 a month. So if you think about what the tax bracket did, somebody in Shaklee at our entry-level position as a director can be earning that in a month by just having a business on the side. So really, as we know, there really are 2 tax systems in this country, and there's one for business owners and entrepreneurs, and there's one for people with regular jobs. So owning your own home-based business, even if you run it part-time, can be the single best financial decision that you can make. So, you know, you can ask yourself, why does the government give these tax breaks for running your own home business? And we heard the rhetoric this past fall that what business in America does is it stimulates the growth of our economy. And so for that, Congress has established a separate set of rules for business people as opposed to people who are not. So there's quite a few changes that have come in this tax law, and I'll give you some resources at the end so that you can write some of this down. But one person who I've learned a lot from, and we use his books as a guidance, and the author's name is Sandy Botkin, and it's Save on Your Taxes Big Time. It's a horrible title, I'll be honest. But what he talks about is the fact that you'd really be brain dead to not start your own business. And I highly encourage you to read his material, maybe follow his blog. I'll give you a link to his blog because he has some really excellent articles on the changes that occur in the new tax laws if you're a small business owner and you are doing you're doing deduction, you are actually doing your not past, I mean, my brain just went foggy. You're actually doing your taxes with itemized deductions. So I highly recommend you go and look at that. So one example I'll just give you is that in the new law that just came to be, that the child, what you can pay your children for services, like many of us maybe aren't as good at social media and posting things and taking pictures and making them look good, but I can guarantee you've got a teenager in your home or you've got a grandchild that fits into that camp that could put together some pretty great marketing materials for you. And in the past, you were able to pay them and they could use that income towards college or whatever, and it would be something that could work for your business. And he explains all that in the book, and he explains that in his blog. So I'm not going to go into the specifics of it, except to paint a picture that if you are someone who's just building something on the side, you can leverage this, and that particular deduction increased almost by double. So that means that if you've got a teenager or a child that's capable, you don't just hire them for doing nothing. You can actually hire them, and that money is money that is a business deduction that will not be, it will help offset other earned income that you have in your household. So it's something to take a look at. There's a lot of changes there. I'm going to feed you to that blog because I am not a tax expert. I do not want to be known as giving any tax or legal advice, but what I want to talk about is the fact that because there really are two systems, you really want to play in the system of being a business owner, and in that category, the new laws that went into place make it better from a offsetting your other earned income, and it's worth your time to take a look at it. So really, it comes down to educating yourself financially, and you're the only one that can do that. And so I highly recommend that you take the time and you move towards deciding to educate yourself financially and see, is a Shackley business something that you can incorporate in the margins of your life while you're growing it, and come into some training so that you can learn and develop your skill set there. But as you do that, and you also focus on educating yourself financially and doing the things that are necessary to prove to the IRS that you are in business and you're taking it seriously, it can be a huge benefit towards offsetting other income. We've had many people in our organization through the years that have come from one of the spouses earning a fairly high income. And what they found in the long run was by having the other spouse start their Shackley business, when they did their taxes that first year, they were usually surprised by keeping proper records, which we teach you how to do, how much it offset that earned income, and it really brought value to the home. So it's something to seriously consider, especially in this tax environment. It behooves you to educate yourself financially and take advantage of all the new laws that just went into place. So why is it that most people don't go into a side business? And many of you have heard me talk about the difference between a profit mentality and a paycheck mentality. But I want to focus on that because I think that's partly why people don't move in this direction. Sometimes people don't build a business because they don't have capital, they don't have an idea, they think of it as a hassle, they don't have margins, there's a lot of risk involved with inventory and employees and all that. And that's why the beauty of a network marketing business, where you've got a brand partner who takes care of distribution and who takes care of product production, and really all you're doing is partnering with somebody and being paid for being someone who represents and actually promotes their products. The more effective you are at promoting their products, then the more money you make. And the more, because Shackley is a performance-based business, the more we perform by actually moving products and teaching people to move products, then your income is in direct proportion to what you performed and brought income into the business. So it's really the best of both worlds in that you're able to have a home-based business without all the traditional headaches that go along with a normal business where you would be in charge of your own distribution, you'd be in charge of your own product productions and all that stuff. So in a profit mentality, that's really how you start thinking is how do I leverage my time and what's available to me so that I'm building something for the long term. But a lot of times what happens is that we're trained in our education system and in our family systems a lot of times, unless you happen to come from a family that's entrepreneurial, then it usually is passed down to the next person how important it is to be entrepreneurial. But say you're not and you've come from a traditional family that's just been employees for their lifetime, then the mentality is that you really do rely on a paycheck. But what happens is that when you go in that mentality and you exchange your time, where you're exchanging your time for some expertise that you bring to your employer, there's a downside to that in that they control your future and you never know if the economy dips, they decide to change focus and you're out of a job, obviously. That's one big vulnerability. But they also really control how much you get paid. And we already talked about that wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living. And they also control your time and how you use it. And the fallacy of a 9 to 5 isn't the reality today. Even people who have traditional jobs that punched in a clock and left, the vast majority of the jobs in the United States don't work that way. And you have to put in a lot more than an 8-hour day in order to be competitive with other people who are on your heels for the very job that you are having. So moving away from that paycheck mentality that says I'm going to put in my time, I'm going to exchange it, and then I get paid on a regular basis, and switching to an entrepreneurial one where it's like I'm going to put my time in with the hopes and the investment of earning in the future. That's a whole different thing. Now, some of you, I don't know who's all on the call, may not know my story, so I'm just going to give a real brief overview of roughly a rough overview of my kind of where we came from. When I got started, we were in our 20s, just graduating from college, realizing that I had made a huge mistake in the career path that I had chosen as a social worker. I realized it really wasn't for me. And so thankfully, I was trying some Shackley products, got pretty good results pretty fast. And my friends started noticing, and I started getting them some of that stuff, as they'd say, get me some stuff. And then no one explained the business to me, but I got the information and I read the sales plan. And what I saw was that if I was willing to just take some time and build a solid customer base and teach other people to do the same, then I could get compounding business. I could get being paid on business that I started, because all that Shackley cared about was the fact that I was performing for them. I brought them people who bought our products, and I brought them people who I taught to do exactly what I did. And each month we had a scorecard, which is our group volume. And depending on how much volume I made, I'd get paid. And I just saw it, and I was like, wow. If I could do that, I'm willing to do it. So I began, and I remember at the beginning just exchanging my time and seeing like very little fruit for it. And I kept saying to myself, it's okay. You know, someday I'm giving up a pizza night with my friends and having a great time, and Doug and I are doing a presentation, or we're working on our business, and I could feel sorry for myself, but I decided, no, I'm going to put this effort into it because someday I'm going to be eating pizza in the Piazza Navona. And you know what? That kept me going for many times, because I was moving from a paycheck mentality, because I knew that a profit mentality meant giving up some stuff for long-term rewards. So the good news is that within that very short time with concentrated effort, we started in January, and by April, we were directors, and I was able to be making enough money that I never got another job. And then I put some pretty concentrated time in leadership development and teaching people. And that first year that we were in Shackley, Doug can quote the exact amount, but I think it was $44,000 was our 1099 that we got. So that kind of started us on this trajectory. And I'll be honest, we worked hard at it, but we worked hard at duplication and keeping our systems simple. But a lot of times it was just moving from that immediate reward that if I put in my time, I was going to be rewarded in direct proportion with a paycheck. I had to move from I'm going to put my time because I'm building something for long term. And you know, the funny story is that Doug and I just came back this fall from 7 weeks traveling in Italy. Now, thankfully, we live in a world where my business could keep going, and I was doing Zoom meetings and I was doing coaching calls and stuff even when I was over there, because I can live in a digital world where I can keep my business anywhere I want. So nothing suffered. But we were there for 7 weeks, and Doug rented me an apartment overlooking the Piazza Navona, and I cannot tell you how wonderful it was every morning to wake up while we were there those days, have my little espresso, sitting on the bench and watching the world go by below my feet. And then at night, we would come back and I'd have a nice little glass of wine and I'm sitting on that bench, basking in the fact and so grateful that we made the decision to choose a profit mentality and to learn how to skill up. So I'm going to talk about that. Because to me, my word for 2018 is skill up. What do I mean by that? Is that, you know, in order for us to continue to improve, we have to let go and unlearn some things that we've learned. And the pace of change is happening so fast that it's imperative that we keep doing that. I read a quote that kind of gripped my heart last fall, and it said, "Every lesson in life comes at the expense of unlearning another." And I've been thinking about that. So I've been asking myself, what are the things that I need to unlearn so that I can be more effective in the day and age that I live in? So for me, skilling up has been getting even better at technology, never stopping. Skilling up means personal development and educating myself more about lots of topics. Skilling up means getting better at asking questions. I don't know what your skill up for 2018 is, but if you don't know things that are concrete that you say, I want to get better at this, like maybe this could be the year that you get better at presenting the business opportunities, the tax incentives that are available to a small home-based business and owner, and how a Shackley business can help somebody, how just an extra $1,000 could make such a difference to quite a few people if you show them easy ways to get their customer base built up. And maybe we can talk about that in some future call, but you have plenty of help with Joanne and Terry and their team, and the leaders in their team can teach you simple ways that you can get your customer base built, where you could get to that level where you're doing 3,000 PV on a steady and continual basis. And when you do that and you price your profits properly, then you're going to be making $1,200 to $1,400 in income every month for just getting 20 to 25 regular buying customers. That's pretty good leverage. I don't know of another business where you can have such few customers and at the end of the day walk away with that kind of gross income. So it's a powerful thing to look at, and maybe your skill up in 2018 is to focus on how can I get better at telling that story and inviting people to take a look. So here's the resources that I told you were going to be available. I suggest you go to taxbot.com/blog, because that's Sandy Bodkin's blog. And in there, if you want to know more about the tax changes that are happening, just sign up for it and and keep following along because he's unpacking this new bill that just went into effect and rewriting the book. There'll be a new edition coming. But even if you have an old edition of his book, which is called Save on Your Taxes Big Time, you can look at, and I think the subtitle is Why Everybody Needs a Home-Based Business. I don't remember, but you can look it up on Amazon, but you can buy a used copy. I highly encourage you, if you don't have one, to get one or borrow one from the library and read some of it, because the principles that are there about how to structure your finances and educate yourself financially so that you can take advantage of the tax structure that is there don't change. Those principles are the same. There'll just be some nuances of some technicalities and changes. So if you follow along with the blog before he has a chance to update the edition with the new taxes, you can still continue to educate yourself financially. And then I want to leave you with just one last thought before we leave. And that's the power of what? 1%, which is one of the things that I'm focusing on. A couple Sundays ago, our pastor, Mark Batterson, had a sermon, and in his sermon, one of the things that he gave an illustration was, and you'll have to, I'm not sometimes the best on details when it comes to sports, so I wasn't listening to that carefully enough, but there's one of the schools in Texas, I want to say it's Texas Christian University, I'm not 100% sure, but he was at an event that they had asked him to speak in Dallas. And while he was there afterwards, they had a luncheon, and one of the other speakers happened to be this coach of this school, and he was sitting down and asking him, and this particular coach has a huge record of his players from that baseball team that he coaches actually having the most percentage of numbers that go on to play in baseball. Is it major leagues? I'm not sure. Tell you I'm bad at sports. Not where I put my energy, but they're professional baseball league.
Yeah, major league.
Thank you. That school are the ones that actually produce the most players that go. It's kind of like a great farming system. So Mark was asking him, so, what's your secret? And he said, you know what? Our players, I don't teach them any major skills. What we work on and what we focus on is improving ourselves 1% every day. And because of that, let's just focus on 1%, what a difference it's made. So I've challenged my group to be thinking this way in 2018. I'm challenging you to think about this in 2018. What would it look like if in the next days and months and this year, you just focused on a 1% improvement? Now, I'll be honest with you. I have the hardest time being regular with physical exercise. And so I thought, I could do that. I can, because I tend to, especially this time of year, it's January, we start thinking it's all or nothing and it's a new year, let's get going, we've got new resolutions and whatever, and we have all this vim and vigor, and then it kind of peters out because we go so far and we want to do too much. But if I just focused on 1%, I can do that. So what would 1% look like today for my planks as opposed to yesterday in improvement? What would it look like if I just improved by 1% in my squats, or whatever I'm doing for stretching if I just stretch just 1% more? And that's just an illustration in something that we can all relate to. But what would it look like if you got better, just improved by 1% every day on the way that you communicate, the way you listen, the way you present the business opportunity? I don't know what you want to focus on, but I do know this, that if you're willing to do that and really be focused, you can have an amazing year by incremental shifts. And this is the year to do it. We have never had more alignment in the field. We have never had, I believe, a time where we've got simple tools for people to follow to easily onboard and get their customer base going so that they can have that solid without stress on a monthly basis. And we've never had a better opportunity where there are people who are actually looking for side streams of income as never before. and they're looking for us. So how could it change if we choose to just change by 1% and get better and better and better? We could have an amazing future. Now, I love this quote, and I like using it because the best time to plant a tree, we all know, was 20 years ago. And you could look at that and say, well, that's great for you, Charlene. You've got this great business. You've been at it. I think this year we're going to be celebrating, I can't remember how, I think we're 30 years this year as a master without reversion for 30 solid years. And that's, so you can say, well, that's great for you. You worked at it. You were lucky. Everything happened your way. And I look back at that and go, I wasn't lucky. I was just more tenacious and determined than most. So, but the second best time to build a tree is really now. So I don't know what your circumstances are. I don't know where you're at, but I highly recommend that you think about planting your feet on how this can be the year that you improve, that you move up in rank, and that you bring more people into the fold. Because entrepreneurship really is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. And I can tell you from personal experience that we focused pretty intently for those first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of our career. And we were really giving up a lot of things because we were focusing on building for our future. But because of that, we live this enviable life where we can give freely to causes that are important to us. And more importantly, I have time to give to causes that are really important to me. And at the same time, I can have great relationship with my adult children because we have time to be together. And Doug and I have the flexibility to travel because that's our hot button and our passion. So my encouragement to you is to take a fresh look in 2018 with a fresh set of eyes. Challenge yourself to maybe unlearn some stuff that you've been, maybe it's a chance to have a conversation with your mentor coach and say, are there some things that I need to unlearn and skill up in this year so that I can keep incrementally improving by 1% and make this a banner year and the best year that you can have in Shackley. So I've enjoyed having this time with you. I don't know, Joanne, if you want to ask me any questions or dialogue about anything I say or flesh it out in a better way than I missed. But that's all I had to say.
Well, Charlene, it's, excellent, wonderful material. We will open the call for questions. And I want to say that we have a good amount of people who are on the call. And because they've made that first step to listen to you this evening, we know that they want to change and we know that we want to grow. And so just that 1% can make an incredible difference. I always say, small increments, small little steps can make a tremendous difference to all of our businesses. So with that, Scott, would you open up the lines? And if you have a question, please ask Charlene. And if you want to just say thank you, you can say thank you. So our lines are open now. Would anyone like to ask a question or thank Charlene for her presentation?
Hey, Charlene. This is Susie Sunkelm, Vero Beach, Florida.
Hey, nice and warm, huh?
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Even when it's cold, it's pretty nice compared to what everybody else has had. This is really nice, very timely, good to hear. I really did like what you said about the power of 1%, improving ourselves by just 1% every day. I've allowed myself to get heavily distracted, and that really helps to get focused and just look at that 1% improving every day. That was really good. And thank you for the blog address. That's really helpful. I do have the book, the original one, but that's going to be really helpful to keep up with the new tax law.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Thanks, Steve. Glad to hear your voice.
This is Leo in Almost Heaven. A lot of people who come into the business have questioned whether the tax laws have changed for network marketing, and we've assured them that this administration is about business and that really the government supports businesses. Would you say that's the feeling of the new tax laws?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think where I think it's going to become better is that as things shake down and people understand that they're not getting as much as they had anticipated if they have if they're traditional employees and they don't deduct, that they're going to be missing out. And so having that conversation, you can give them better data because I don't want to. Bob can explain it super well. And you can start researching it, and I would highly recommend people research it a little bit. But as a business owner, you'll be able to qualify for the business deduction rate, and it's just better at offsetting other earned income. So it's better. It's never been better, I believe, to jump in and dive in and have that conversation with people.
Most definitely, I mean, just what we earn and what we pay in taxes and using the honest deductions. Some of our children who make a very excellent income, it's amazing what they have to pay in taxes because they don't have the advantage of all the deductions that we have. And a couple of them have actually started, doing more with the business because of the tax deduction specifically. Thanks, Leo. Anyone else?
You're welcome. Great presentation. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Joanne?
Yes?
This is Sheila Gray in Maryland.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Joanne. I just want to say thank you, Charlene, and thank you, Joanne and Terry, for having her present tonight. I really do like the power of 1%. I'm struggling right now, but this was very inspiring. I'm really looking forward to making improvements in 2018. It's been a real struggle ending of the year, but I really did appreciate the phone call tonight. Thank you. And it's helping me to, I really need to get regrounded and refocused.
Right, and Sheila, we did talk about working on personal development, getting some good personal development books or audio in your hands. 1% of personal development every day is really what helped me become a master coordinator. I worked harder on myself than working on my Shackley business, and that really made a big difference in the amount of growth and success I had with my Shackley business. So I encourage everyone in that 1% add a personal development program of some sort for yourself, which will help you make those changes that you need to make. As Charlene was saying, sometimes we have to unlearn things that we have been carrying along with us since we were very young. We have to unlearn some of the things that have been holding us back so that we can move forward.
And I totally believe in that 100%, and that's what I'm working on, because with the things that have been going on, some of those old things it's brought a lot of those old things to the surface, and so that is my goal with my personal redevelopment and getting refocused and grounded again, because I've really been shaken up. Or shaking up, whatever.
Okay, thanks, Sheila. Who else would like to comment or say something to Charlene? Or I know we had a good number of people on this evening.
Yes, Joanne. Joanna, this is Joanna Capiaci, and I just only want to thank you for this information. It's the first time that I hear something like that, and it's great for me to hear this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful, Joanna. Nice to have you. And everyone, I want you to know that we have a billboard that Scott Holden is managing for us. And the billboard that, or bulletin board actually, that we have, we'll have this material, an audio recording on the site. That is genassociates.org. And I put it in all of our materials whenever I send anything out. So when you go onto our bulletin board, you'll be able to re-listen to this, or you can bring someone to the website, the bulletin board, and they can listen to it. And we also have Carolyn Whiteman on there. We've got Laura Evans on there. We've got Barb and Ray Madoran, all from our winning webinars. And, of course, Charlene Fike. So, you know, please take advantage of all these incredibly gifted and kind master coordinators and above who are contributing their time. They're not in our, they don't receive any remuneration from it, yet they're giving of their time. So with that, I think I'd like to thank Charlene and thank everyone for joining us.
And this is Terry again, and I hope you all enjoyed the call. It sounds like you did. Charlene, thank you so much for your time. As always, you have a wonderful way of looking at things, and especially our business, and our best regards to that great guy named Doug.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll pass it along.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Good
much.
night.
Good night.